How you guys doing? For the based on select board for Tuesday, April 22nd, 2025 at 6 p.m. at the Robert Vassar Town Hall. We have a lot of guests tonight, so if you don't mind, if we go around the room and you just introduce yourself. I'll start with myself, Chuck Martell. I'm the chair of the select board. We'll go to Josh Livingston, road foreman. Mike Jordan, select board. Ron Greer, select board.
Madison Vassar, town clerk and select board assistant.
I'm Jed Cockstein, and live up on Tucker Hill Road.
Okay,
Scott Bennett, I also live up that.
yes, Scott.
Very
Sure.
good. Tucker Hill Road. Amy Belton, Tucker Hill Road.
Brian Littman's Tucker Hill Road.
Mike Biscoe, Tucker Hill.
How Mike doing?
Yeah, Sarah.
What's that?
There's a theme.
Well, yeah, so I think we're gonna be talking about Tucker Hill at some
You got
point here
that.
shortly. So, why don't we get started? The first item on the agenda is to approve the select board minutes of April 8th, 2025. Has everyone had a chance to read over that? Yeah. Any questions, comments? Do we have a motion to accept?
Accept those.
Mike makes a motion. Full second. Ron seconds. We all in favor? Aye. All right, I'll sign those minutes then. 22nd today.
Mhm.
All right.
Could you introduce who we have also on the screen?
Yes, and we have Sarah too. In the back.
And who's on the screen?
Oh, Bob Fletcher, so he's from the Vermont Bond Bank. And he's gonna be talking to us when we're through here about borrowing money from the state to cover our expenses that we incurred during the flood last year until we get payment back from FEMA, which can be a slow process. So Bob is here to talk about that. And Bob, the next item, well, the second item on the agenda is additions and deletions to the agenda. Do we have any additions or deletions? No, okay. Then we're moving on to public comment, item number 3, and I think you folks are here for public comment, right, on Tucker Hill Road. So I will open it up. Do you have a spokesperson who represent the group or?
I'll start off, sure.
Okay,
Yeah. So I just jotted down some notes. I'm Jed Cockstein. I live at the very end of Tucker Hill Road. And I'm here to talk about Tucker Hill and Muncie. It's been a real challenge. The road crew does a fantastic job with what they have, and what they have is pretty challenging on Tucker Hill. Yet again, this spring, Tucker Hill became all but impassable to almost all to really most of the vehicles. And you know, you could go up and down, but it was a real challenge. But the worst of it is the bottom hill. And when you factor in both the depth of the mud and the grade of the hill, that becomes really a big challenge for us. 2 years ago, I think it was, most of the residents had to park above the hill and walk their way down because it was impassable. I think there were a few trucks that could get up, but that was the exception. I actually ended up having to park over in Sugar Run and walk up over the top of the ridge and down with in the dark, in the rain, with luggage from a ski trip, which was real fun. Last summer, the road crew did a bunch of work up there. I think it was a lot of drainage ditch work to see if with improved drainage, we could sort of solve that problem. And I don't know whether it was an improvement. It was certainly better than it was the previous year, but you know, who knows if those are good comparisons. but I think it didn't solve the problem. And so, I think, I don't know how many years ago it was, but a bunch of years ago, the road crew rebuilt a section of Tucker Hill, just before Quarry Road in front of Easty Long's house. That helped for a while, and I think it's certainly better than it was before that. But I think that the effectiveness of that has been dropping over time as well. We can all tell stories about, vehicle damage, inconvenience, all of those kinds of things. The thing that concerns me the most is emergency vehicles, and whether it's ambulance or fire or anything like that. That's a real problem, potentially for us. And I don't know if there are a lot of other roads in Facein that have only one means of access, that are as bad as Tucker Hill is. But this is, certainly a concern for us. So again, I don't know what other options there are. I had, I think a year ago, there was a company that I had come across years ago down in Connecticut that had an enzyme that they treat the roads with. I think that the road material we use maybe wasn't compatible with it or something. I don't know, but if there are other solutions, great, but I guess, I would really like to request that we take a hard look at paving at least the first hill on Tucker Hill Road, similar to what the town has done on number 9 in Bragg, and I'm sure other roads in the valley. Again, if there are any other alternatives, great, but this has been a real problem for us, and I think poses a safety risk.
Okay. Yeah.
So Scott and I have lived up Tucker Hill Road for almost 40 years. And mud season is never real fun, but the last few years have, we never worried about how we were gonna get our kids to school or if we were gonna make appointments or get to work. But the last few years have been extremely challenging. Like Jed said, some of us have made it up, almost all of us have, SUVs or trucks. So we should be able to get up. And we can't, I think 2 years ago, the majority of the people either had to park below and walk up or leave a car at the top. And hope that Chris Mayon might come through and take you up in this big truck, but we're missing doctor's appointments, we're missing work. One of our neighbors is getting cancer treatments down in Boston, and she was terrified she wouldn't be able to get back up. One day, called Scott, and Scott was able to go get her in the truck, but it's a real challenge and dangerous. There have been times when I've been going down with, 4-wheel drive and studded snow tires, which don't really help on mud, but there's ice underneath, and I've gone sideways down the hill. It's terrifying, and like Jed said, we all have our stories. I had to go pick up Scott at the top of the hill because he couldn't get up in his car. I had to park my car at Heidi and Rusty's one night because I couldn't get up. It's a real problem. So I think we're concerned and curious what our options are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and just to make perfectly clear, the crew does a great job.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a tough road in any conditions. And they're great. They are up there at, 5:30 in the morning, 6 o'clock. That is always open for us when it's not mud season. Kudos for the way they take care of a very, very difficult and challenging hill. So it's not the guys. Please, no, it's not the guys.
I get a report daily from Tony.
Yeah, I'm sure. It's gotta be fully transparent because he's gotta come down at whatever time to get to his town truck.
Mm-hmm.
But like Carrie said, we've been there 40 years and, we're 1.75 miles out, so we've seen most of the road, traveling. And we've always, mud season, it's Vermont, it comes. but this has gotta be addressed. This is like nothing we've ever, in 40 years we've lived there. It's the first time I remember that we had to shuttle cars because we couldn't get through.
Hmm.
So, and again, yeah, it's just, what are the options? We're not trying to prescribe what the solution is.
Mhm.
Is it paving? Is it bringing in big material to build a road base up again? I don't know. I have no idea. We're not the SMEs in this area of how you rebuild a road. But I know that there's a way because it wasn't always this way, so. We just would like, I think we'd like to come away with some idea of what a plan might be, or if it's, if it's not, and I understand budgets are tight. And I don't know from the rest of Facein what the rest of the roads are like. Maybe this is typical, I don't know, but as Jed said, because we've got one means of egress, it's dangerous, it's dangerous. So, we're just, I think, hoping to air our, not our grievances, but just here's the reality and the concern. And what might we do, what may the town of Facein do to assess and try to figure out a plan and what that might mean and when.
Mhm.
Hey,
I got some visual aids.
Oh,
for you
yep.
guys. So I've been on the hill since 18, I've been in the valley longer and going up and down the road. So, just so we don't just show up here and say, oh, the whole road's bad. I tried to give you a couple printouts, an idea of what's really bad, and then kind of triage from there. So the main part of the hill is the worst part. This is a photo one of the residents took on March 21st when people were parking their cars up at the top and at the bottom. So you can see the depth of the mud. I drive an F-150 and I think it has 8.5 inches clearance. I was bottoming out. And there were a couple times where it was a little bit dicey getting up on the crest. The other areas, problems, less of a big concern. By Tony's house is probably the next worst area.
And that's the one we just did work to and gravel.
Yeah, you
that
guys threw
section.
some dirt on.
This year, yeah, we did,
Yes.
but
Yeah,
prior to that, when we
Well-
spent 6 weeks up there,
prior to that, you guys did the flat section.
the flat
And that's
section.
been so much better. A couple of years ago, when we had warm-ups in like February. That, I had people come to visit with a car, thank God, it froze like the day before they came and a week later so they could leave because. We had 6 people in my truck because they could not drive their car on the road. It was that bad. I will say on the flat spot, it's starting to get some potholes in it, and so. Don't let the good work go to waste on that section.
Right. And they should have got graded in a couple days.
It
ago.
did,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying, every time it gets graded, I guess you erode it a little bit.
Well, every time you grade material, it breaks down into fines and
Yeah,
that's.
Yeah.
Gravel roads.
yeah. So I hope that gives you like a little bit of a better idea of like where the problems are and what they look like to people on the road.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, I know the worst days were the times when it didn't freeze, and it just
Yeah.
stayed warm and gets stirred up and,
like you saw from that picture,
there's
up to there on him.
fuel delivery trucks, UPS, FedEx. The agricultural side of it, people hauling thousands of gallons of sap up and down your road.
Right.
I mean,
Tears it up.
it doesn't help.
Yeah, UPS calls it Pucker Hill.
Yeah,
They
well,
told me that,
I watched FedEx go up it and they,
yeah.
yeah,
I will say, personally, I wasn't happy, I know a few other people weren't happy with the logging trucks last summer. I know you permit them for a year and no one's saying you can't log your land or
Right.
anything. But that's gotta be a lot of abuse on the road, because there was what, like, 20, 30, maybe more loads going up and down the day.
I don't think the impact is all that bad on it, to be honest. It packs it down, makes it harder, doesn't really break it up like a grader will.
Though we did lose that one culvert.
That was failed before they opened it up, but it's nothing they did. It needed to be changed. We changed it. I worked around their schedule of trucks because they were out of state and.
Yeah. From New Hampshire.
Josh, quick question, are we relegated to the materials we have from our own pit, or do we buy in, larger?
We've started bringing material in from northeast, out of Graniteville. It's a granite-based material. It's what we've used over here a little bit since we had the flood, on the hills to try to get it to stay and pack better.
Is part of the problem when you do bring in product, you did, it's got a lot of fines, it's got a lot of.
It's not the product we bring in, it has a lot of fines. I find that the granite material holds up to maintenance better and it packs a little better than the product we produce in our pit. So we have been exploring the option of bringing material in, but it is expensive.
And we are running out of pit.
Yeah, I mean, the more gravel we take out of our pit, gravel and sand, it's gonna come to a point where we have to decide whether we're gonna try to make gravel and sand or keep it for sand, because it's really hard to get winter sand.
From your standpoint, do you think it's more of a drainage issue or just like the road bed itself is just shot?
It probably needs some work on the base, and even if we were to do paving on that road, we would still have to start at the base and work our way up, because you can put pavement on it.
No, I don't.
The problem with that first hill is nothing but blue clay. So when we originally stone lined that ditch up the first big hill, I had 3 foot diameter, or 3 and 4 foot diameter rock in that ditch. That ditch was dug so deep, put the big rock in there and then 12-inch minus on top of it. So there's a lot of stone in there to hold the bank back off the road. My opinion is the stone definitely helps to hold the bank, but it's on a gravel road, it gets a lot of fines in it from the winter, and then it holds water too. The most important thing for mud season is to get the water out of the road, because if it's trapped in the road, then you have nonstop mud. So.
Yeah, then whatever you put down, it just pumps right into it.
Right, I mean, we Band-Aid it, putting gravel in it, putting stone in it, grading it when we can. If I go up there and it's not frozen and, paddle around in it, it's just gonna make it worse. You're not the only road that has one way in that is bad. There are a couple others in town. This year, the north facing slopes took it a lot harder than the south facing slopes. But I don't think, in my opinion, this year was I don't think it was the worst year Tucker Hills had as far as mud goes, but that's just my personal opinion. I made it up there with my dump truck every time. And I checked it a bunch with our town pickup.
It was pretty bad, second only to probably 2 years ago, though. 2 years ago was.
I think that
At
was.
least we had a cold winter. It's like,
Yeah,
these
that-
winters that go like this.
It
Like, it's a
stayed
roller
frozen.
coaster.
I mean, that big frost heave by Guyon's. That thing comes in every year. It was a lot bigger this year because our frost was driven a lot deeper than it has been in the past, I don't know, 8 years. We get the January thaw, which we didn't get this year, and temps up and down. And we get a lot of mud, and it's hard to plow or maintain that. But
Yeah, and we did look into that, the treatment,
injectable,
and even their rep was like, it's not gonna work. Because it works on, it's the steepness of the road, and he was like, it would just tear apart. So even they kind of walked away from that. But we did engage them, unfortunately.
So I think it would be helpful to understand from the town of Facein, whether through a feasibility assessment or just an overall assessment. One, what the queue looks like, so you've mentioned other roads, so we're seeing the hydrology change, or, you know, and this winter was atypical, but what's that gonna look like? And so I don't think any of us want a Band-Aid approach, that's just pouring in, you know, good money after bad or bad money after good, like, and so what, is there a bigger, long-term plan with a queue of the worst roads and with some sort of assessment of how to tackle them in a way that isn't Band-Aid-esque, recognizing there's incredibly limited resources, and maybe if something is scheduled for 26, 27, and it doesn't happen because of that, but at least there was a plan and there was an understanding. And that would be helpful because I don't think you all want us to keep coming in and telling you the road was really muddy this year. Like, I know everybody hears these stories. And so that's not gonna be helpful. And I don't think it's our intent, certainly not my intent, to come in and just be like, it's a muddy road. What are you gonna do about it? And so I throw that into what are the options and can there be the potential for plans? They will not get implemented, I understand that, but at least like we would have an idea of what the approach may be. And what I don't understand is like what it would take to do the assessment to go, would have to be done to understand the best long-term approach prior to putting that queue list together of all of the roads. So that it can be phased out, because if everybody, you know, if next week the folks on that other road come in, it's like, everybody's gonna want their road, which is understandable. And so how do we approach that in a equitable manner, that doesn't have you guys all just constantly getting complaint after complaint, or the question, what about my road? Like, I'd rather ask, what about all our roads? And especially the ones that are at the top of the list.
Yeah,
Most of these people, you know, I have a truck, so I have more clearance, but a lot of these people, they have like Subarus and whatever, so they're talking 7-inch plus clearance. It's not like they're driving, you know, a Volkswagen GTI or something like that.
Mhm.
So when you start seeing people leaving a car at the top and a car at the bottom, which I know you guys hate, they're doing it for a reason, either not to destroy their car or simply they don't want to get stuck in the middle of the road. Not that we're, you know, complaining that, oh my God, our road has mud on it.
Mm.
Yeah, I just had my, excuse me, tires changed and there's definitely undercarriage damage.
We had, Howard Wynn was in last select board meeting. I don't know if you knew that or saw the replay on TV or whatever, essentially with the same story. And what we explained to him at the time is that the chances of anything getting done this year are like little to none. We're still recovering from the flood, if you can believe it or not. We're subcontracting work in the flood related areas because we can't get to them with our road crew based on the workload that we have, other than Tucker Hill replacing culverts and everything throughout the rest of the town. So doing that, nothing is gonna happen this year. However, as we explained to him, and Josh mentioned to him too, that, you know, he would take it upon himself. Some of the other issues that we hadn't talked about is the ledge in certain sections of the road, and also the not the mud, but the clay areas on the road as well, that impact how the road reacts in the springtime when it's mud season. And Josh has said he would go up this year and try to take a look at those to start to formulate a plan that we could put together for that particular road. I don't know, Brian, if it'll be one, you know, one size fits all kind of a plan, because that road changes so much as you drive it. It's different in different sections and.
Right, and I understand that, and if it's, you know, if we're talking portions of the road, this, you know, the steep first hill is different, and there's other sections that have issues, so I totally understand. We could be talking about phased approaches and understanding, is there a game plan? What does it look like? What are the best phases to take on first? And how does that fit with all the other roads, that have comparable or, you know, very needy, issues as well?
Mhm.
And just trying to get a sense so that we understand what direction we're going and, you know, how many years out are we talking for patching together the different pieces that are.
Mhm. Mhm. And I think that's a reasonable request. We don't have that plan right now. We've been so reactionary over the last year or so, especially with the flood, that we've been popping around to different places trying to fix problems, 2 bridges out here in North Facein. So we don't have that plan now, but it makes sense to have one. And it's something that we should work on during the course of at least this year. We can't give you an answer as to when that'll be done right now, but I think later on in the year, it would be appropriate for us to get back together and say, you know, this is what we found out and what we can do.
Even in the accumulation of all the roads, as Josh has said, there's other roads that are in dire need as well. The fact that the pit's running out of our own material,
Mhm.
that we don't have to buy in. Is it something you have to almost have a sinking fund, you know, like you do to replace your 10-wheelers and say, okay, we know, you know, we're gonna have to accumulate some money, because we're gonna have to put some money into it, whether it's steel, in buying new rigs, or here's, you know, we're gonna have to put $1 million, $2 million into our roads over the next 5 years, and here is the plan. Because,
Mhm.
and we, whether it's a bond vote, or we have to go to the town or the population and say, you know, guys, guess what? We're at the end of our run we've had free materials, or essentially free materials for a long time, we don't anymore.
Mhm.
So here's another line item, it's gotta go into our budget.
And that's, we've already added that in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Okay,
that's already
in
been
place.
trucking the stuff to Barry.
Yeah.
Up to, yeah. So we're already
Okay,
down that
so
road.
you're already anticipating that and building that in,
Yeah.
whatever it is.
And one thing that has been nice with that, because we really just started utilizing that after the flood, is on certain sections, mixing in with the existing material that we do have, seems to lock up much better. So that's been a benefit. In some places.
Some places.
I guess I'd echo kind of what they're saying, in that we're looking at trade-offs at this moment,
Yeah.
but over the longer term, I guess it would behoove the town to come up with like a long-term plan for
Mhm.
road maintenance that looks ahead and addresses problems, or addresses the road needs before they become a major problem, and then you're looking at a big, you know, cost that you just can't fund.
Mhm.
But classic municipal kind of problem, you know,
Mhm.
always putting out fires rather than getting in front because you don't have money.
Right, and over the years, I mean, we tried to do that rightfully or wrongfully, but I mean, you know, repaving the North Facein Road, and we're doing work on German Flats, and, you know, so we're doing a lot of work on the paved roads as well as the gravel roads, and with Josh replacing culverts and that kind of thing, so, having said that, though, I think it is a good idea to have a plan that addresses your needs, you know, on Tucker Hill, and then the other roads that Josh knows are in a similar situation, and we have been asking for that as well, and Josh has been providing us with stuff on a work plan for the road crew for each year that we can take a look at it and analyze with him things that we want to prioritize for work being done. So I think we do need to address what you're asking for, and we will do that. But like I said, there's so much going on with flood recovery still that it's, other than beginning the planning process, there's not a lot of physical work that's gonna get done this year out there.
I was just gonna ask a question. I don't know if there are any assurances that you guys, like, in the event of an emergency, a fire, the need to get an ambulance up there, and it's as bad as it gets,
So,
how would you reassure the people that are up that road that those services can respond?
right, and we're not alone as a town in that regard, right? I mean, it's Waitsfield, it's Warren, it's everybody in the valley, it's 80% of the roads in Vermont to
Yeah.
go through this mud season. we've been assured by the ambulance and fire service that somehow they get there. Whether they bring their own four-wheelers in, you know, somehow they get to the people that need to be seen and they take care of them. We don't have control over that, so, you know, I mean, as good as we can make the roads.
If I can make it up there with our tandem dump truck, the fire trucks can make it up there. I've driven all the fire trucks they have, and they'll go up through there.
Yeah.
The ambulance, they do have a larger four-wheel drive one that they utilize certain times of the year. I'm sure mud season is one of them.
Mhm.
I've only ever been up that road once to the point where I was uncertain, and that was years ago. Cause I had to go pick Tony up for work one day. So. Yeah, I haven't seen it lately where they wouldn't make it.
So we'll work on a plan. I think it's a reasonable request, you know, something we need to be doing anyway, and check back in later on in the year and if you want, and see where we're at with all
Reach
that.
out to us as well, because I'm sure the people that show an interest coming tonight, we'd be willing to be involved if you need community involvement.
Okay. Okay. All right,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
thank
you.
thank you all for
Thank you.
coming.
Josh, thanks for, you guys do a great job.
Yeah.
And yes, thank you,
Yeah.
Josh, seriously.
We try.
Don't want it to
We-
sound like you just come here to complain, 'cause we
We
know how
still
hard you work.
appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
We realize how hard you guys work with what you have.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
All right, thank you, everyone. You too. All right, Mr. Fletcher.
All right. First of
Welcome.
all, Mr. Chairman, let me correct the record. I'm an attorney at SP&F Attorneys PC in Burlington. I actually work for the town, not for the bond bank.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry about that.
No, that's fine. I just want you to understand I'm your attorney, not theirs, and I'm here to look out for your interests, not theirs. So you have in front of you, you should have in front of you, two sets of documents. One is a resolution and certificate with a series of exhibits attached. And the second set are execution-ready versions of the attached documents, the documents that are attached to the resolution and certificate. The town made application for a municipal climate recovery fund loan from the bond bank and was awarded a loan of $376,000. It's a one-year short-term loan. And at the end of that term, the town will have to make arrangements to refund or term it out, take it out for a longer period of time. The document sets, the resolution itself, the resolution certificate, will document and evidence the decisions made by the select board, hopefully in favor of making the loan, but that's your decision. It authorizes yourselves as select board members and other town officials and requests that they execute and deliver the various documents that you have in front of you for signature, and deliver them to us, and we deliver them to the bond bank in time for a May 7 closing. The resolution certificate also includes provisions where you are making findings about the necessity for the borrowing, that you are certifying that you are the elected officials of the town, that no one is challenging your positions by petition or litigation, that the documents, when signed and delivered, will be valid and binding obligations of the town. The town is pledging its credit, which means that it is committing to raise taxes sufficient to pay debt service on this loan when it comes due and as it comes due. So it's not a revenue debt, it's a general obligation debt. That everything you've done has been done in accordance with the open meeting law, Public Records Act, et cetera, all of which I don't have any worries about. And so that's it in a nutshell. From the resolution and certificate perspective, the loan agreement, the note, all of those things are not much different than you would find in a bank borrowing. You're agreeing that you'll pay back the loan when it's due, that you won't do anything untoward with the proceeds, that you are going to use them, in fact, for the purposes described in the loan documents, that many of the same representations and warranties that are in the certificate are also in the loan agreement. And the only thing that you should be aware of that is different with this loan than most others that you might see is the fact that the state treasurer's office, the state administration, and the bond bank have reached an agreement pursuant to which the bond bank can intercept payments to the town if the town were to be delinquent on this loan. So if you were in line for some kind of compensation from the state or a grant from the state and you defaulted on this loan, the money wouldn't come to you from the state, it would go to the bond bank to repay the loan. So it's a little bit unique. There's no bank that can do that, but because of the arrangement between the state and the bond bank, they've worked that out. So I just wanted you to be aware of that. I'm happy to take any questions if anybody has them.
Bob, Chuck here. So you mentioned earlier that it's a one-year term on the loan. It can be extended, I believe you said.
Well, it will need to be refunded. So another loan will have to be taken.
Okay.
And the proceeds of that loan used to pay off this loan. The difference will be the second loan will have a longer term. It'll have an amortization like your mortgage, for instance. It won't be 30 years, but it'll be, 5 or 7 years. And so you'll have a period of time over which to pay off that debt.
Okay. But the ideal situation would be to just pay off that loan in that 1 year period of time.
Well, yes, and you've committed in these documents to use 50% of any FEMA reimbursements for these particular the flood damage issues, right? To prepay the loan in advance. You can prepay it with the permission of the bond bank. The bond bank's not going to deny you permission to prepay the loan for any reason. But when you get FEMA dollars back, FEMA reimbursement, you have agreed to make 50% of that available to the bond bank.
Available, meaning in the form of a payment.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I spoke with the bond bank. Hi, Bob and Sarah. And the bond bank said that, yes, that we had to obligate 50%, but it didn't have to be until we were almost made whole by FEMA.
Oh,
So
okay.
Correct.
he made it clear, it wasn't every payment we get from FEMA, we don't have to disperse 50% of that to the
That's
bond
correct.
bank.
Okay. Good question.
No,
No.
good.
The other thing too, so Sarah, we had talked earlier today, so May 7th is when we have to have all this documentation in. Well, your question was about when do we get payment then from the bond bank?
Yeah, just how quickly does this turn around for the town?
I'm sorry, Sarah, I couldn't hear you.
That's okay. When we close on May 7th, is it by ACH that we receive the funds or?
Yes.
by check? Okay,
Yes. You'll make a requisition for the full amount
okay.
and you'll be flush with cash on the 7th of May.
Don't I wish?
That's not ours.
Oh, God.
Flush the cash, you would be taking a loan.
It's like you hit the lottery.
Yeah, right, can a town do that?
Not with these monies, you can't.
Yeah, right. Any other questions for Bob?
No.
Sarah, did you have anything else? All right, so Bob, we've gotta move on this. I don't think you have to stay around for us to make motions and
I don't,
that kind of thing. We don't have any further questions.
You're welcome to though.
Since he's on vacation.
yeah, I don't think so. I think all you need to do is move to adopt the resolution and certificate, and that will provide all the authorization you need to execute the rest of the documents.
Okay.
And then Sarah can send me a wet ink signature of all of those documents to the office and we'll have them.
Okay,
Awesome.
All right?
Yep.
all right, Bob, thank you for coming in. I apologize for giving you the wrong title.
Well, I just wanted you to know that I was working for you and not for them.
Yes, okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yep, have a
Bye,
good
everybody.
evening. All right, so I guess we need a motion to accept the documents as he described, right? The resolution
It's a resolution.
and certificate,
No, certificate we need to,
a municipal
Accept.
climate recovery fund loan. That's the title of this document, and the
Loan agreement.
the loan agreements that are associated with that. So I will make that motion, I guess, that we accept those. Give a second, Mike second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, so we have some signing to do and some money to collect, which I see Sarah's smiling over there.
I understood.
Yeah.
in a way
I'm assuming
That
this is the
50% of every
second
FEMA check had to be paid. Well, but it's not.
Pass that along, thank you.
I don't know,
Okay.
what you still didn't quite get it, but 50%.
copy. So this is the loan
So
agreement,
we only need one.
one packet. That
I
is
think
a
it's
one
one
copy
packet,
of.
But
it's a-
multiple signatures.
Oh, yeah.
If it's one of those.
Oh, yeah.
Skip that out.
So this is just by me. I guess, right, yeah,
Yeah, looks like it.
this doesn't make me responsible to pay the loan, does it?
I think
Right.
so. I think it
It's a
does.
personal guarantee check.
Wait, I want more signatures on this.
Don't worry.
Oh, here's one that requires more.
I think you've got it in your house. The value.
Stop, I don't want to hear this. So I don't want to mix up all these pages though, if they're floating around. Do you want to keep them in order and
Yeah.
pass
maybe
the
I'll
whole
look back,
document
yeah.
around? So this is for Sarah.
Okay.
Oh, Sarah, you and I can split the bill if anything goes wrong here. Sarah, oh,
Oh, yeah.
my goodness.
Oh, Sarah.
Yeah.
I think she's responsible for it.
At least 70%. Authorized, oh, okay, this is me. Second, we said, right?
Mhm. Alright, so let's cross that one we need to do.
Just that one other one for
Yeah.
Ron and Mike. Did we get the public funding?
Yeah, they give next. Yeah, I think. those are the places.
What was the amount we approved for again? In the bond?
376.
How much?
376.
276?
Get on that.
Think we're gonna make it, right?
Be a fun road, they got. It'll be buried in the center of it.
That's the problem, is every time that. You want to do that rebuild section, it stays, or like, it's like the bottom of the queue on this side. That used to be a nightmare. And now-
We did it right by Randall Road too.
Yeah.
We're out on the ditch.
Yeah.
And it's just really.
You can't park there.
Who can do, you can do
Small side,
one of those a year.
and that's all the way across town.
Yeah.
It's,
You're logging it, yeah.
it's a couple times. But I'm sure they.
Perfect.
So the actual closing is on May 7th, right? So
Yeah.
you're gonna be there representing the town. Does anybody else need a?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I'll double check with Bob.
Okay.
I still need to talk to Bob,
You know, I
tried
feel
to talk to
so
him today
I
and
drive by
didn't
that.
call back,
like,
so.
3-4
Yeah.
times a day, a lot of cars to the
For
bottom.
them, but I don't
Yeah.
know what the answers. But
Cliff,
I'll make sure it's there. I
And, you
think
know, but we do have.
this
to,
represents us.
that is the,
Perfect.
you know,
But I'll double
Okay.
check.
we're
More-
choose to use.
I
Okay.
need to reserve the time.
I'll give
And,
it to
right, and so it's, I was.
All right.
you. I'm not gonna say it for this, so
And
just-
we do.
Okay.
It's their contract and costumes more.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
Okay,
these are
ready to-
$6 million.
Ready to rock and roll?
Yeah,
Next item?
that's it.
Internal financial.
Internal financial controls. So this is a document that's put up by VLCT. We fill out our financial control questions in here, yes, no, or don't know, or whatever. And I think we voted on this, we decided, right? We voted to accept what goes into this document. We've all received a copy and had a chance to read it, right? So,
Did Sarah fill it out or you?
There.
Sarah, that's what I thought, your handwriting, because I saw some things that said we weren't sure. There was one that said we weren't sure, but I read it and I said, yeah, I don't. Know how we would
yeah. Yeah.
gauge that.
I think it's meant to just flag things that could be of concern that we look at what Sarah is doing and I didn't see anything in there, even the ones that we weren't really sure of that are items of concern, so.
Do we sign it?
No, there's no need to sign it, so I think we just a motion to accept the internal controls report, let's call it, that Sarah's put together.
I move to accept the internal control report.
Okay, Ron,
Second that.
Mike second, further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, so everyone's on board with that. Next item is
You're
the.
good there.
Oh, hey, Sarah, thank you. Right. Okay, paving on German Flats Road, so we had a couple of bids that came in on that. And, I don't know how we wanna discuss that, we talked about it. So the McDonald's one didn't give a bottom line price, like
Just-
Pike Industries did.
Price per ton installed.
Right,
Yeah.
so is that what we wanna make our decision on?
I saw that, and honestly, it's not even. It says plus or minus 1153 per ton, so I mean, it could go more than that.
It could be less than
It's
that.
already $20,000 more, is that right? 30.
I think it's 110 is what it comes and change.
95.5 times 1153.
What's that come out to?
They're about 115,000 on those, but it's not a fixed price way. Right?
So based on performance stuff, do you have a preference?
I don't know as if we've ever hired Pike.
88.
Not as long as.
So Pike is doing Waitsfield's work, is that correct, Josh?
That is correct. They're starting
And
any day.
They would be looking to do it.
They would piggyback on Waitsfield's job and then come to us. Cause they'd be in the area.
So the difference is 88, What was Pike?
115 was the other.
No, but Pike was,
88, 3,
88,
3,
338.
8. 88 cents.
And I asked Pike
88, 3 what?
to revise their bid
88, 3,
from
3,
the original
8.
one to, so they
And
were
then
both
88
bidding
cents.
equally
So
with
it's
an
like
inch and a half shim and an inch
$26,000
and a half overlay. I don't know where the gap is in the tonnage between the two. We both went through and did the same measurements, same distances. And width, so,
Right,
The difference is about 26,000
The price is pretty quick.
between
It's just-
Pikes, I mean, 115 and the 88. Right,
yeah, and there's at least one culvert
that's a,
I will need to change before work happens
Mhm.
you know,
on that
to
road.
me, that's a sizable amount. Are you coming up with the same difference?
Yeah, well, yes. Yeah, and it's like Josh is saying, it's all based on the tonnage. That they're,
Yeah, I mean, J McDonald's price per ton is less.
But is Pike per ton or is that their price?
Their price, they have a price per ton on there.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that's their price.
well, they're,
Right, yeah, no, plus or minus, where the other one is plus.
it's a couple dollars cheaper on McDonald's price per ton. So then I guess the question becomes, how accurately did they estimate the tonnage that they're gonna use?
I don't think that Pike,
You wanna look at these?
I don't think they're estimating their tonnage. I'm saying that's
writing
what
it
they're
in
gonna put
copy.
No,
down.
it's okay. I
Josh,
just
is that
went-
true?
Okay.
Pike,
Is that true with Pike's price?
yeah,
That's
there's
what-
no plus or minus on
There's no
that.
plus or minus. No, I mean, they're gonna do the job.
It says it's that
And
much
you
ton.
just have to trust them that they're gonna put on, you know, the coverage they say they're gonna, which that trust you.
Mhm.
Most people.
Does the fact that they coordinate with Whitfield on that job mean anything to us?
It shouldn't.
Yeah, so strictly a pricing,
I mean, it might save them money as far as moving equipment because they're close, but
Sure.
either way, they're still gonna have to move it from A to B. It's just a short
Price it that way
distance.
too, you know?
I know J McDonald did their best on the price per ton. But
Yes.
I just, like I said, I don't know what the discrepancy is between the tonnage.
mhm,
Cause I went through the site visit with both companies.
Are they both giving us the same specification?
Inch and a half shim, inch and a half overlay,
Right, that's what I thought, you know,
yeah.
I don't think we have a choice.
you know, McDonald's spells that all out. Whereas,
There is some more detail in J McDonald than Pike.
yeah, because they spell out exactly, like you said, what they're gonna use for shim and all, and this is just
I mean, even as far as sweeping, traffic control, all that stuff is on McDonald's and not on Pike.
mhm. And then the question becomes, is it included in Pike's bid or not, which could make up for the difference in,
I would assume. So,
yeah,
but that's assuming,
mhm,
you know, they usually provide their own traffic control and stuff,
mhm,
and if they do the sweeping of it anyway, because they can't put it down without it.
mhm.
I guess they could, it just might not be great.
What are your thoughts? I mean, it looks good from a, strictly bottom line price perspective, but there's a lot more detail in the McDonald bid as to what they'll do for a lesser tonnage price. And if they use less tonnage, the price will go down.
So if they're into Waitsfield now, can you get that culvert replaced by the time they get to it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have to rent a saw and cut the blacktop. What's
That one
left of
right
it.
at the intersection?
No, so there's a 30-inch at the intersection that runs parallel to German Flats. That culvert doesn't get much water at all anymore. There's a box culvert that was installed uphill of it that takes the runoff in the spring. There is poured head walls on that culvert, that help hold that corner by the sign.
Yeah.
And there is conduit running through our culvert to the sign. So
It's like
that one would be a
that.
lot trickier to change.
Yeah.
I don't think it needs to be changed. It looks to be in good shape. It's just always good to check before you put new blacktop over a culvert. A few of the culverts downhill towards the school, they look great. It's the one, when you pull up Mount Ellen Road, where the half the road pretty much gave way,
Yeah.
that is a failed culvert.
So you
That's
want-
probably a lot of the reason why that is the way it is.
Got it.
So that one does need to be changed. It won't be super difficult to do, like I said,
Just gotta do it.
I just gotta do it, I gotta get a machine to cut the blacktop.
So
Which Adams run saws like that before, working for Barry, or City of Barry in the past, so.
How thick is the asphalt?
I don't know how thick that,
half the road there is then.
yeah,
Right, so not much.
it shouldn't be like some of our last roads, like when we ground this road up, I mean, it was.
Yeah.
Thick. So it shouldn't be quite like that.
So back to the question.
I mean, they're both reputable companies, you know, but I still question on Pikes whether or not their bid,
Can't imagine they do a shoddy job.
what's that?
I can't imagine they would do a shoddy job.
No, I don't
I mean,
either,
I'm just guessing.
yeah,
What do you
Well,
think?
we can try. We haven't used them yet. But other people do,
Yeah,
they're a low bid.
yeah,
I think I've gotta do it.
all right. So we should probably vote on that, on which bid we're
Pretty
gonna.
big number, yeah, 2,500.
Yep.
Yeah, I move to accept the Pike Industries proposal to pave the portion of German Flats and Mount Ellen Road.
Second that.
Okay, further discussion? Any more, no, all in favor? Aye, okay, so it looks like Pike. One,
So Josh should take it from there.
Yep, I'll contact him tomorrow.
Do we have the culvert?
I hope so, yeah, I should. If not, I can get it relatively quick turnaround. We get a lot of pipe through the farmyard store and it's,
Culvert, so we've already repaired two. It's not bad, really. Culvert repair, reserve,
I have 10,000 in there.
20. In the reserve.
Oh, in reserve, we put 10 in this year. Must be.
yeah, I think that's what
Yeah, so it's
happened,
at 20 up to 25,000,
Okay,
but I know some of that could be sharpshooter.
well. I'll try to be somewhat conservative with purchasing culverts, but when they fail, and I
Gotta do it.
gotta do it, like that one you saw me at today is another one that's. Just not working out.
Yeah.
So. They just keep popping up, I don't know if it was due to the amount of frost we had in the ground this year, being abnormally cold versus what we've had in the past. Since I've worked for this town,
yeah, yeah.
I don't know if it's
I'm
putting
just,
more stress on them.
I have to say, I don't think the town, now I'm sure, Tucker Hill was, I mean, I saw all the cars. I don't think in general, the roads were that muddy this year.
No.
Do you?
Not the number of.
Not
roads.
that, no, it's funny, it's not the typical ones.
No, it was a
Right.
lot of the north facing.
Yeah, it's, we didn't have everybody in from, Center Facein, which is just
Hmm.
insane,
Mhm.
you know,
Q Vassar was rough.
Yeah, but it
but
was,
not that bad.
but it was manageable. I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen Q Vassar a lot worse than previous.
And
years.
there's ways around that.
Last year,
Yeah.
Q Vassar was worse than this year.
Yes.
I've had
Of
some
course,
bad spots on Old Mansfield Road this year. Marble Hill got real bad, but again, Marble Hill is another hill that has a lot of agricultural traffic during sugaring season.
Mhm.
It hard.
Well,
Okay,
we gotta
move on.
So what? Yep.
All right, let's do that. Item number 7, E911 road name. So we've got. I'll read it. A zoning permit for a new single-family residence has been approved on German Flats Road. They'll be sharing a driveway with Feintisch and Bose, I would say. This will be the third address on this driveway. This will trigger naming the driveway a private road according to E911 standards. So the folks there would like the name of the road to be either Ruby Lane or Ruby Way.
Ruby
They
Lane is
will-
their top, yeah.
What's that?
Ruby Lane is their top pick.
That's their top pick?
Yeah.
Okay. And then Ruby Way, they wanted Ruby's Way, but special characters are not to be used, so. I guess we need to vote on which of those two. Which place is it?
Oh, they don't care which one?
They have a top choice, but,
Oh, okay, those are choices 1 and 2.
I guess Jason tried to get them to come up with like multiple choices, but because he was explaining that there was no Ruby in Waitsfield or Moortown, they kind of were
I
like,
think we just give
it was
them
pretty,
the
yeah.
top choice then.
So that's right
It's right
before
across from the school.
White Horse Inn, right
Yeah.
before it.
Right across from the
Yeah.
school, kind of.
Didn't know there was another house going.
That's it, it's gonna be a town road.
No, it's a private road. Don't start that with me.
We're not taking any more roads over.
I'd like to give up a few, come on.
so why don't I'll make a motion that we accept Ruby Lane as the name for that road. We have a second. Ron, I think it's second.
Like it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ruby Lane it is.
Do I order that?
I guess for the road sign itself, yes.
Cause there was another one that we approved.
And they have to
Month ago.
pay for, it, right? Is it
No,
private? We paid for ours in one when I did it,
we put up,
and we had to put it up ourselves.
Yeah. We
Wow.
haven't been charging.
yeah, we put up all the, well,
Okay.
we were uncertain.
It might be like this.
Continue putting them up, you know, they got taken down,
Right.
but I know the initial one we did.
We did all of
Post, base, top hat and sign. I'm just happy it's not super
I
long.
mean, it's a
because then it
private
takes
road, I'm
two
just asking.
postings.
So,
So you, to
I
answer
think we gotta
Josh's
put, I think
question,
we have to put it in.
yeah,
Which is what we've done
yeah,
in the past.
so I think you'll have to go ahead and order that.
Okay, there was another one,
I can, yeah, I forget the name of it, but I'll ask. I can-
Bear, Black Bear,
Black
something,
Bear.
something, farther up German Flats.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was, where that, someone just got a permit. There's a house that's been there forever, and then one that's taken a little while to build. And there's a third lot in there that,
That's already dug for a foundation.
yeah, right, so they're starting to build, so that's the one that we did last,
a few weeks ago,
a
yeah,
while ago.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Did we put that sign in?
no. So that's why I'm
Yeah.
checking
yeah,
to make sure we
okay.
get a,
We'll have to get that one too then.
Well, it's just, yeah. figure
yeah,
that out.
give me the name of that.
So do we buy the sign, is that it?
Yes,
Okay.
we have them made.
Huh?
We have them made.
Okay, good. All right, next item, Mad River Ambulance Service, the MOU. And I guess this is just for everybody, so we're all on the same page and everybody's listening and watching, knows what's going on. So after our last meeting, our attorney had given us some wording that he recommended that we used in the MOU. I passed that information along to Sheila Ware and told her that this is what our attorney is recommending. My understanding is there was a minor word change that Moortown had recommended as well. I don't know if Warren or Waitsfield they have any changes, but the bottom line is that the ambulance service now is going to collect all those changes work them into the MOU and then
Get
come
back.
back to us for a final signature on all this. So we don't need to do anything tonight with regard to that, just to know that Sheila's got it and they're gonna run with it. So that brings us to approval of excess weight permits. And we have Bacon Trucking,
Going
Owens Little Digger Service, Stones Trucking, and Stephen Wilder Trucking. And I will sign those.
Did Hallstrom get a permit?
You did. We already did that one last week.
Hope he's listening.
I don't think so.
Doubt it. I doubt it too, Josh.
Thank you for going in all these other things. It makes it go back so much quicker. This last one?
Mhm.
Okay, all right. Liquor license and catering permits are next.
Seem like that.
Yeah.
And we've got
Just a liquor
there.
license. this
just
time.
the liquor license and it's for Sugar Bush, right? Sugar Bush Mountain Resort. And because this is for their license, we will need to have a motion to approve the license and then give Maddie permission to accept it and do all the paperwork online. So I'll make a motion that we give Sugar Bush Mountain Resort their liquor license for this year.
Perfect.
Second that?
Second, any discussion? All in favor? Aye, and we'll give Maddie permission as part of that motion to do what's required online.
Perfect.
Okay, no other business, I don't think, right? So,
There was some mail.
oh, there
it's-
was some mail. Oh, my God.
I got mail. It's just the solar thing on Marble Hill, right? Joey Nagy, that it was like you guys looked at this a while ago and they didn't have all their paperwork in, so they're reapplying again.
Is this for the soul?
Solar, yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
So it's
okay.
nothing that we have to do. It's just,
Okay.
they just,
FYI
just,
kind of
yeah.
thing.
So
Okay.
it's nothing new. It's just, they didn't have everything in line last time. So
All right.
started the process over. Anyone-
Sign the warrant, I guess, right? Is
Yeah.
I'll pass that along.
You're up.
And that will be the last item. Put some notes from the last meeting. We never heard back from Brad Cook, huh, on the energy, as our
He
energy.
was gonna
coordinator.
reach out, I think. Do you know?
You did, yeah.
He didn't reach out to you?
No, I haven't
Okay.
heard back from him. Wonder if he's still interested. I guess I could follow up with him. Did David Frank ever come and take a look at the?
No, I'm trying to get hold of Jeremiah, you know what? I called Jeremiah, I forgot if he's doing that 12% the town garage for a couple of things. And called him about this, he had called me back, but he was in our office today, but I was on the phone and I couldn't get out. So,
So nothing new on that, huh? I don't know.
but it's, you know, we get it. I haven't a clue what caused it, I mean, they're moved back there, it's just bizarre. Gonna happen again, that's the day.
Mhm.
That Earl's truck, is that the truck body?
Yes.
No, they did a great job.
Good to see it, good repair, you know what I mean? There must move money back and forth, right, from the, what we have down here. From the savings to the money market, not money market, but she puts it into another account now,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Right.
it's easier to move back.
Mhm.
Yeah. We do live at Black Island, and she was stuck in the intersection like northeast, just before you told the previous. Went up there, and I came home, and she was, the car was tilted up like this.
Village Grocery, that's
And the
gas.
gas,
right?
yeah.
Pulled out, saying, no, you got a gas leak, you got a gas leak.
Which, I don't know what's going on with them lately. Every time I go there to get gas, it takes me forever because they say we're over our
Gas
limit.
station, gas coming out the thing.
So I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, their bills are really weird too.
Huh?
The bills are really weird too.
Well, maybe we should reconsider that fuel card thing we talked about a while back.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Well,
So maybe bring it up
when the
next
Pines
meeting.
used to be there
We talk about
after
that,
the,
yeah.
like
Revisit
that section
it.
in there used to
What
be.
limit would they be?
I don't know,
They're trying, right?
but it's been an issue. twice.
Well, a lot of times on the bills, when they send them in, the like, the one that's like from the computer, they cross it out and put like the actual one. So I wonder if it's because it like overlaps sometimes with billing, with, you know, like for
Oh.
us. But it's not that it hasn't been paid, it's
Right.
like their billing system, I don't know, it's really weird, they cross it out.
Taking care of.
Interesting.
Don't know what's going on their part.
You know what I'm saying? We put all this, you know, gravel, imported gravel.
I mean,
All right.
You gotta keep it handled.
No other business? We have a motion to adjourn. Mike, Ron second.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thanks, Eve.
mhm.